Just a quick warning, this is just going to be me ranting. It's not going to be going into depth. There's not going to be a lot of visuals. This is just put something, if you are doing something, just put this on in the background. So yeah, if you just want to, or if you want to see the drawing, just yeah. Okay, bye. Listen to the video. Bye. Hello. Today what we're going to be talking about is the failure of the Amazing Digital Circus. To be clear, I want to state before we get into anything, it's not that I don't like the Amazing Digital Circus. I love it. It's just the final didn't really leave us off on as a story ending. There is like a bunch of talk about how Jax, Pomni, and maybe a little bit of Ragatha Kane were the only ones in the series to get serious, like, retrospective character development in the series, but I disagree with that. I think these people are the ones who needed to grow the most. I also forgot about Gangle. Gangle also did too. Because when I look back and I see the people who were trapped in the Amazing Digital Circus, besides the fact that they were trapped in the Amazing Digital Circus, the characters were already created in a way that they didn't need development. Like, it sucks that there wasn't any Zooble backstory to go in depth on how she feels about the situation that she is stuck in, how she felt in real life, or anything. But if you look at Zooble as a character going through the Amazing Digital Circus, she's probably the most mature. Besides Kinger, who is insane most of the series. But the ones that are being developed within the story have problems within their lives that aren't just refined to the Digital Circus. Like Gangle, she's unsure about her place in the world, wanting to pursue art versus having a shitty job that she hates. Or with Ragatha or Jax with issues with their families. Because when looking at these three specifically, you see that Jax, Gangle, and Ragatha have problems in their day-to-day life that make them not want to be a part of it anymore, make them not want to be there, to feel as if they're being punished because they're simply living and going day by day trying to figure things out. And the cruel thing that ultimately comes from that notion of being somewhere that you would rather be instead of dealing with the hassle of, I shouldn't say of, but that comes with life, they are now stuck in the Amazing Digital Circus, where they can no longer grow as humans, but as people. But what does that mean when reality is so far-fetched that you can't recognize it? You can't look at these people who are toy dolls or like just ribbons and a jester, and you think, okay, this is fake. This isn't reality. And that's what the point of view that Jax has, which I think is the most diverse person in the Amazing Digital Circus. Not because of the fact that he is a good person or he's very 100% interesting in his backstory. It's because he chooses to not accept this reality. If he accepts this reality, then everything he went through in real life is meaningless because he's now stuck in this eternal hell. So in rejection of reality, that being the real life versus the Digital Circus version, he rejects all of it. So he becomes a character that is more interesting than 99% of the cast because he is not willing to be the same person as he was when he had that fight with Ribbit, had that emotional experience. It's complex. And honestly, I can only see that complexity in human nature coming from Jax versus coming from Zooble. And that's the thing that I think about the Amazing Digital Circus, is that you don't need to know every single little thing about Zooble or Gangle or Kinger or Pomni or any of the other characters. You just need to know what they lie in, what world they are living in. And I feel like that world has been destroyed. I say destroyed, but I probably mean something else, but because it's not that harsh. because the world that they have is hard to inherit. Because you have Cain, someone who turns bad within an episode. One little thing snaps him off, that being them rejecting him, them being stuck in Amazing Digital Circus forever. And then you have him turning back and saying, wow, I suck. And that being the good ending of the show. Let me make this clear, I'm not a writer. Well, I am a writer. I do write stuff, and I do have a book, but that's a shitty book, so don't listen to me. So let me be clear, I'm not a good writer, I should say, but I think the way that it ended is too happy. I think it's too joyful. Like, they get to live this life and just look at their real selves, and just move on. But it's really hard to know what to expect from this series. There's only 9 episodes. Like usually it's like 12 episodes, I think, for TV shows nowadays. But 9 episodes. Well, and also an hour and a half for just an hour for one episode, that being episode 9. But it's really weird to look at it and be like, okay, yeah, this was a good episode. I think the going from episode 8 to episode 9 kind of made it really hard to have episode 9 being a good episode, because episode 8 set up a lot of things. The cruelty of Cain, and how he was destroyed, and now everything is not going to be okay due to the fact that Cain is no longer within the circus. And that idea of something that controls the whole world no longer... It's like if the world stopped spinning. That's what it's like, I think. Probably the easiest way to discern it. And with the influence of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the influence of Am not being able to do anything, and you still being in a state of immortality and not being able to die, I find to be horrifying. And I feel like that horror, that thing that would be when you are stuck in this world, isn't there in the 9th episode. It gives conclusions to some things that could be known, but doesn't really change the story in a way that I find good. I don't know. I was gonna say something more, like a bigger word to make myself sound smarter, but I don't. That's probably the best way of saying it. It doesn't feel good when watching. But it doesn't feel like there's any accomplishment there. It just doesn't feel good. And that's what sucks. I couldn't ever have the same responsibilities as the creator of the show had. I couldn't know how to end such a thing in a good way to where the suffering of these characters won't be as bad. Because in reality, in the circus, like, everyone on Twitter being like, oh, you know, everybody's happier when Jax is not around. But you have to think, they don't need food to survive, and they're still eating. They don't have to sleep, but they're now sleeping, and they're doing all this stuff just to make their lives seem more replicant to their human lives. They're still stuck in a cycle which they couldn't be in real life, and now they do that to make themselves feel better. The horror is still there, but how you see it is different, because I think it's probably a reverse of I Have No Mouth and Must Scream. Like, Jax can be in a comatose state where he's not at all like being alive, and he doesn't have to live forever. He doesn't have to do these things. He doesn't have to wonder why he's alive. He doesn't have to look at himself and say, why am I here? Because in I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, the horror is that they're being alive and they are suffering constantly. The suffering hasn't gone away just because Jax is gone. It's just less drama related. They're still living with how a human being lives, with the complications, with love, with how they see the world, with how everything goes, they're still gonna be living life, and Jax is the only one to be not living. And I'm not saying that living is a bad thing. I'm just saying to constantly be there in a place where your voice doesn't matter is horrifying to me. And maybe I wanted Jax to suffer. Maybe I wanted him to be the one to live this life of being that he will never be able to escape. But he's the only one that escaped. Does that make that bad? I don't know. I don't know how to put it into words, but that's how I feel about the ending of The Amazing Digital Circus, and that's how I feel. But now I'm thinking about, now that I put it into perspective of that, of being alive constantly forever and ever, having to deal with the same problems and everything else, I think I actually like the ending. I like the little notes that you get on Twitter where it's like, oh, here's the Digital Circus cast just surviving, because yeah, there's still horror in living. So anyways, that was the video. If you want to support me, go to my Kofi. Yeah, okay, bye.